this was originally planned to be a community police meeting, and I understand why you wanted to bring the other issue here, because this is a gathering place. But in all due respect, this is Chief Drew's evening with all our other wonderful guests.
Well, good evening. It's always good to have a good conversation. You know, we all live in Newport News and live here together, so it's good to have a good conversation. But I do want to take an opportunity to kind of hear from you. First, is there any members here from First Baptist Church? So let me just say thank you. Thank you for letting us use your sanctuary. This is here before. I met with Pastor Shipley, and phenomenal, and I really appreciate you allowing us to be here. So I'm going to give you a quick 5 minutes of me, and then I'm going to take questions from you. So if you don't ask questions, you just got to hear me. So a little bit about me. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. I graduated college and was hired by the Richmond Police Department back in 1993. Anybody familiar with Richmond, Virginia? A few people, okay. I did 25 years there. My last 3 years in Richmond, I was the assistant chief under Chief Alfred Durham. The position came open here in Newport News. I got some calls about a lot of similarities. One of the issues here. Came down and looked around, interacted with some citizens here. Everyone seemed very friendly here. Everyone was very open to conversation. I asked a lot about the city. A lot of the same issues that I dealt with in Richmond that are here. We have a problem with youth violence and firearms. I can tell you that. It doesn't take us long to learn about that, but I think we have some good things in place. So I started here July 2nd, and I came in with three major focus points for me. Number one, I care about the health and wellness of this organization, meaning the morale of my officers, right? Officers see a lot of stuff. We see it, most of us see it on TV, some of the neighborhoods we live, but officers live and breathe it every day. They respond to crime scenes, they deal with citizens, they see society at its worst, right? Doesn't mean we're bad people. We see society at its worst. We're all human, the same for us. But that stuff stays in our psyche, and I want to make sure that I try to release some of that stress, and I create an environment where that we can talk about that. If I need a department psychologist, then we'll get a department psychologist. People deal with things differently, right? Some with their faith, their family. I want to make sure that we have good channel energy, and I want to know that every officer, every sworn civilian in that police department is valued. That is the best resource I have. You can give me all the money, council can give me all the money they want. I got the best technology, the best equipment, the best resource I have in the Newport News Police Department are the men and women that come to work every day. Those that wear a uniform and those that sit behind and do the work behind the scenes. And they are phenomenal. This city should be proud of them. It's a very good department. Number two, community and youth. We are going to interact tremendously with our community, and we're going to interact a lot more with our youth. I hope that you've seen that some in the last 2 months, the time I've been here. I have the whole command staff is here. Chief Grinstead, Chief Moore, Chief Randall are all here today. I think that's important. We're all speaking one message. We don't always agree. Right? We don't always agree. But as we move forward, we're going to interact with our community, and we're going to interact with our youth in the city. We're going to do a lot of things. Summertime, after hours, I was out today looking at some facilities that I want to put some things in. We're going to increase some units. We're going to decrease some. When I came here, the department was like this. I spent the first month of July meeting as many officers as I could and having the same conversation. Asking them questions, what do they want from me? What do they want in their department? You know what they said? They want to be valued. They want to be respected. They like to be heard and have a voice. They may not always agree, but they like to be treated fairly. My response to them was, I agree. And I would add that every member of this community expects and wants the same thing. If we can do that, we've got half the battle, right? Now we just got to work together. But we're going to interact with our youth, and we're going to have a lot of community engagement, and we're going to have a division that focuses primarily on that. The third thing, I want to be here very, very clear. We're going to be the police department in this city, and we're going to reduce crime here in Newport News. You can make bank on that. You understand what I'm saying? There are too many people getting shot in a city this size. There are too many homicides in this city. There are too many juveniles running around here with firearms. We ain't making them here in Newport News, They can't hit anything they aim at. They're hitting innocent people. And that should upset every person in this building, every person in this sanctuary, every person in my command staff, and it upsets me. We shouldn't tolerate that, so I need citizens to come forward and talk to us about information about stuff going on. There is this 450-man division in this department, 450 officers. There's 185,000 plus citizens in this city. I'm asking you, I'm strongly encouraging you to take ownership of your communities, your streets, your neighborhood. Do not allow that nonsense to take place. If you see something in this city and it's wrong, say something. Pick up the phone and call us. 911. We will send somebody, I promise. I've got people that we pay all day long to answer the phone. I got 450 officers that are going to respond. I believe that message is being heard. The good news in Newport News is for the last 6 weeks in this city, we've seen a steady decrease in crime. Every Monday we look at the crime numbers. Soon we're going to be looking at every Monday and Thursday. They don't know that yet in this conference. Every Monday we look at the crime numbers. Right now, the city stands at a negative 1.3. We have a 1.5%, 1.3% decrease in overall crime for the city. I've still got too many shootings and I've still got too many homicides, but we're seeing those decrease as well. In fact, we had a homicide this morning. I'm sorry the media left. I told them I had an announcement. I'll tell you this. I don't want to get too much into that case. But the recent shootings that we've had, citizens have been calling in. This is the individual. This is where he's at. The detectives work around the clock. The officers that are working are going in and making those arrests quickly. I don't mean months. I mean within days. Right? So I'm going to say this about the homicide we had this morning. And then we're going to open up for questions. I promise you this. We will solve that homicide, and it will happen very, very quickly. Hear what I'm saying? We're going to solve that homicide that happened today, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. Because citizens have taken back their neighborhoods. Fair enough? Yes. All right. I can keep talking. I can ask you some questions. The only thing I'm not going to talk about is two things. We're not going to talk about deer. And we're not going to talk about any lip sync videos, nobody singing. Other than that, we're good to go. Yes, ma'am.
The homicides that are committed in this city, are the majority of them gang-related, domestic violence-related, or random violent shootings?
So this year we have 18 homicides. We've cleared 5, or it's going to be 6 here shortly. We get a cross section. Chief Moore is in the back. We have issues with domestics. We have issues with groups that don't get along with each other, who grew up in different side of the tracks, different neighborhoods. They shoot back and forth. Sometimes they hit the wrong people. They can't even hit who they're shooting at, right? And that scares people, and it should scare people. They shoot back and forth. We have some that are conflict. We have some that are drug related. So it's not. I wish I could tell you it's one thing. If it was, it might be a little bit better. I could focus on one. But there's a plethora of motives that happen. A lot of those things that what we know of is we've got to be more proactive. In my opinion, we've got to be more proactive. As we reorganize this department and look at what crime we have here, we're going to tailor the way we address crime. We're going to tailor it to the city. And I'm telling you this: we are going to be much more proactive about addressing violent crime in the streets of Newport News. I promise you that. Yes, ma'am. You have a lot of passion. That's okay.
There's more that we should be worried about than deer. We have drug dealers in our neighborhood. In fact, I know some of the cars that I've seen the cars along with some other neighbors that they come and pick their drugs up. I know where the drug dealers live. I have seen officers sit outside these
One, thank you. No, number, I do not want you using the deer call. Right? Number one, continue to call. I sense your frustration, and I understand it. I have the same frustration in some ways. Some of it's my fault, I'm going to tell you what. Continue to call. Every time you call and give a time frame, or you give a description, it's logged in that CAD system. So when we go back and we do historical information on what addresses are problems, we have a situation that happens. One of the first questions I'll ask at the crime scene, or many of these guys will ask at the crime scene, is what calls for service do we have, right? But you're exactly right. One of the most proactive ways to address violent crime, listen to me, give me a second, is to address violent crime, is the drug game. Because where there's drugs, there's money, there's firearms, there's women, right? Prostitution, hotels, I get it. One of the issues that I've got to fix is I have a lot of that stuff centralized. I have precinct captains who are very responsible. Both captains, the outgoing captain of this precinct is here and the incoming captain is in this building. We are going to restructure the department differently. Right now, if you call in a complaint, I send it downtown and there's a group of detectives and they're very good at what they do. They're very good at what they do. It's a big city, very linear, right? Big city. When we look at those, where are we getting? A lot of stuff I try to put our resources, block, one lump sum, where we have our violence. But I've got to spread that out. So I will tell you now, it's a secret. Hold on, it's a secret. Hold on, it's a secret. You're right, it has been going on. You're exactly right. The department, stay with me. The department is going to change in September. And those resources that are blocked, and it's really good that you bring this up so we all hear it. Those resources that are blocked, I'm going to decentralize those and put them back in the precinct, so that when you call that precinct captain, he doesn't have to call downtown and ask somebody to come help him. He's going to go down the hall and tell the officers that are in his precinct that are drug trained and know how to do that type of work to go out there and address that issue. And I don't mean a month later, I mean within 24 to 48 hours, you're going to see something. We're not going to solve it overnight, but a lot of it is the restructuring, a lot of it is training. I've got a lot of knowledge, right, in one area. I've got to get that out to the field. So that, anybody know how young our department is? About half is under 5 or 6 years. I've got to teach those young officers how to do some of that work, but we're working on it. Bear with me. Bear with me.
I even walked outside at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, and there's been a guy that's called one of the drug dealers home. They're sitting right on my street.
I got you.
She's getting herself all fixed up to go home, and he takes her home, and then he drives down the opposite way. I can tell you who you are, but I can't tell you. All I know is that was a temporary.
What I need you to do, so I'm going to call some of these other people.
It takes so long for the officers to get out.
Man, listen to what I'm saying to you. Let's try to listen to what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying. There's a reason I'm restructuring this department. I'm with it. We're on the same page. I'm with it. Wait and see. We come back here in a month, you're going to be like, wow, what you told us was true. If you don't believe me, when we come back here 1 month from now, you say, I want to talk to the chief, what happened? But I think you're going to stand up and say, everything you told us was true, and you did exactly what you said you're going to do. Just let me get this spread out. I promise you. All right? All you got to do is keep calling me and tell me what that address is or what that block is. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
In regards to like proactiveness and stuff, is there or is there in the works something that maybe gets officers into like the elementary schools, starts trying to get these kids young, into
You better stop stealing all my thunder back there. Is the city manager leaving? The city councilman is still here, but they're okay. So I have a meeting. I have a meeting about the question that anybody here was: are we going to do more basically with youth and elementary kids, right? So I have a meeting next week to talk to the city manager about how I'm going to restructure this organization. Those guys all sit back there in blue. They know. They know. There's going to be a new unit in this city of about 20 officers. They're going to do just that. And we're going to focus. We have an officer, correct me if I'm wrong, in every high school and every middle school. But we are going to do some things in elementary schools. Last week, a couple of us went out, and the school hasn't started yet here, right after September 1st.
Yes.
But there's some early reading programs, and a couple of us went out and read to some kids at a library on, man, I wish, do you remember, I meant to forget the school. That's it. And Berenstein Bears. That's what I read. But yes, you're exactly right. One of the things we're going to look at is with the officers that I have on daytime. I know I can't put an officer in every elementary school, nor would I, right? Because I got some other things I got to focus on. But I could have officers adopt the school, right? And stop in maybe one day a week, have lunch with some kids at the cafeteria, or do some things. You will never see a difference in that. You can feel it in the blue. I'll come back to you in the red. You should just come up here and sit right here beside me. I got some officers in my command staff like you.
Going back to guns, I have an opportunity to hear about people report theft from vehicles, and I've seen in the news that it's being stressed to lock your vehicle, which is a good thing, a good reminder. But I do know about reports when people leave their guns in their vehicle overnight. It's just, if people could take their guns in, legal gun owners could take their guns inside, because a lot of guns get in the wrong hands because they're stolen from vehicles.
I will tell you this. If you could find a way for me to get that message across, you and I would be the richest people and be more news. The robberies in this city are kind of stagnant where we were this time last year. Burglaries are tremendously down. That means less homes are broken into this year than last year. Those are good things. My shootings are still up from last year, but they're starting to balance out. That means crime is dropping, right? My homicides, I don't know what we had I only know we had 6 in June, we had 1 in July, and 2 in August to date. I see our crime dropping. Do you know what crime kills us and is the hardest? We look at it every Monday at 1 o'clock we look at it. Do you know what crime kills us? It is driving the city, is larceny. Larceny from vehicle, larceny of cell phones, things left unlocked, laying in the back seat. And like I said, I did 25 years in Richmond, and I've done 2.5 months here in Newport News, and it's the same issue. It's just, whether it's a firearm or a laptop or money, it's just like an active shooter, right? Active shooter, they want to hurt as many people as they can in a quick amount of time. So when they go to a door and they pull on the door, if the door's locked, does the shooter sit there and yank on it, or does he go to the next room, right? It's the same thing with a vehicle. Very few, and most of it are kids, right? Most kids aren't going to work on a car door for 20 minutes and try to get up, going to ride down the block. Some of them even ride a bicycle and go right down the block. But if I could get neighborhood watch and citizens looking out for each other, talking to each other, you know who belongs in your neighborhood and who doesn't. And if you see somebody suspicious, just call us. But that is the biggest thing, a crime that the citizens could prevent. 80% if you would just lock it. 2 things that happen. Stolen vehicles, and they report out the same way. Hudgens will report out every time. I had 5 vehicles stolen, 4 were unlocked with keys. That means somebody's either through 7-Eleven. I worry about it as it gets cold in the wintertime, you got to warm your car, but what happens? And you know what those kids are doing when they're stealing cars? You think they're going robbing banks? You know what they're doing? They're driving it from point A to point B, getting out and doing whatever it is they're going to do, and then they go steal another car to get back home. That's all they're doing. It's crazy, right? They're not going out there. So it's just lock that car, take the keys in with you, don't leave things in plain view, don't leave your windows down, and I bet we'd stop that at least, at bare minimum, 50%. Yes, sir.
Okay, on the 4th of August, I saw